Hello Screamers, welcome back to my channel and welcome in if you are new. My name is James, this is Screamers Digest, the channel where we discuss all things horror and physical media. And today's video is going to be my top 10 most anticipated horror films of 2025. Now I did have to condense this list just a bit because we have a lot of great releases coming, but I do think these are going to be the best ones out of everything. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so the first film that I'm going to discuss, I don't really know that much about. I kind of don't really watch trailers anymore, as you guys know. But this film is called Presence, and this is directed by Steven Soderbergh. This releases January 17th, and this follows a family who moves into a suburban house and becomes convinced that they are not alone. So a pretty vague synopsis, but that's what I love to see. Up next, we have an anticipated film by Leigh Whannell. Of course, I am talking about Wolfman. This also releases in the US on January 17th. This follows Blake, who, with his marriage fraying, persuades his wife Charlotte to take a break from the city and visit his remote childhood home in rural Oregon. As they arrive at the farmhouse in the dead of night, they're attacked by an unseen animal and barricade themselves inside the home as the creature prowls the perimeter. But as the night stretches on, Blake begins to behave strangely, transforming into something unrecognizable. Like I said, super excited about this one. Leigh Whannell, he gave us The Invisible Man with Elizabeth Moss a few years ago, and so I hope that he follows it up with another great Universal, horror film. However, this is a January Blumhouse film, so if it floppy-anas, I won't be that surprised. Like I said, I do have faith in Leigh Whannell, so I think it's going to be pretty good. At the end of the month, releasing January 31st here in the US, we have Companion. This film is directed by Drew Hancock and follows the character of Iris, who uncovers a terrible secret after being invited to a weekend trip at her new beau's lakeside estate. Don't know much about this one, but I do know that it stars Sophie Thatcher from Heretic, which we got last year, as well as Jack Quaid. That, along with the few tiny little pieces I've seen of the trailer and the poster, are enough for me to be sold on this film. Up next, we have an original horror film set on Valentine's Day. So, of course, I am talking about Heart Eyes. This is directed by Josh Rubin and comes out February 7th of 2025. When the Heart Eyes killer strikes Seattle, a pair of co-workers pulling overtime on Valentine's Day are mistaken for a couple by the elusive couple-hunting killer. Now they must spend the most romantic night of the year running for their lives. This, I hope, really does well. I hope that it's a great film. I think it will be based on what we've seen. Of course, we do have a trailer. I refuse to watch the entire thing. I love the design of the killer. It's giving potential new icon. So as long as the script is good, I do think that we'll be seeing a Hard Eyes 2 potentially. Up next, we have a film based on a short story by Stephen King that I actually read at the end of last year, and that is The Monkey. This one is directed by Osgood Perkins and comes out February 21st here in the US. When twin brothers Hal and Bill discover their father's old toy monkey in the attic, a series of gruesome deaths start occurring around them. Like I said, super excited about this one. I think that Osgood Perkins is going to bring all of the dread and the build-up that you need for a story like this to work. This also stars Theo James, which I know mainly from the Divergent series, but I know he's done other things, as well as Elijah Wood and Rohan Campbell from Halloween Ends. Before we move on, I do have a couple of honorable mentions. Most of these are franchise horror, and so that is why they are here. As much as I'm excited for them, I just prefer original horror more so. Nonetheless, we have Megan 2.0. I'm looking at this to be a success. Clearly, the original Megan was super successful after its TikTok virality. I will say I was expecting something a bit bloodier, a bit more R-rated, so hopefully this movie pushes the boundaries a bit. I Know What You Did Last Summer is being rebooted this year with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. both returning. This film, for me, I was never really that big on the original. I think the first two are good, fun movies, but I wasn't really dying to get a new film in this world. We are also rumored to get the last Conjuring film with The Conjuring Last Rites. This is directed by Michael Chavez, who did the third Conjuring film, as well as, I believe, The Curse of La Llorona. Wasn't a fan of those films. La Llorona was fun enough, but the last Conjuring movie I thought was pretty abysmal. So, I mean, I'm excited because I like The Conjuring, but I'm not excited because I don't think it's going to be that good. And then last, we actually do have an original horror. This is a YouTuber's creation. His first first feature film with Shelby Oaks. I'm sure most of you know about it already. This is directed by Chris Stuckman. I don't know anything else about it. I just know that he directed it. This is his first movie, and it's being released or distributed at least through Neon, so hopefully we will get a theatrical release. Okay, I had to sit down, but up next we have Until Dawn. This is, of course, an adaptation of the very popular video game. I can't say that I was originally very excited about this film. I only made it about halfway through the game just because the formatting of that type of game isn't really for me. However, this is being directed by David F. Sandberg, who of course gave us Lights Out, the short film, and the feature. He also gave us Annabelle Creation, which I absolutely love. It's the only Annabelle movie out of the 3 that we needed, to be honest. So I'm super excited for his take on this world. I just really love how resourceful he is as a filmmaker. He of course makes a ton of short films for YouTube, and he also does behind the scenes of how he accomplishes so many great things on a low budget. So yeah, for the director alone, I am excited about Until Dawn. What can I say? Up next, we have Final Destination Bloodlines, and I, of course, like any other 90s kid, love the Final Destination films. I think that the third one is just so iconic. Like the cut from the tanning beds to the graves, like that is peak cinema. So I am super excited for this, but I will say I think that Final Destination 5 kind of summed up the series, or like brought it full circle in a really interesting and clever way. However, this franchise only has one bad film, and I am of course talking about Final Destination in 3D. That film is terrible, but the other 4 are really, really strong, so I anticipate that this is going to be as well. I don't think they would resurrect it without having a strong script. Final Destination Bloodlines drops May 16th in the US. This next film releases on September 26th, and I am talking about The Bride. This is directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal, and this one's super interesting. It's just a retake on The Bride of Frankenstein. In the 1930s, a lonely Frankenstein travels to Chicago to seek the aid of a Dr. Euphronius in creating a companion for himself. The two reinvigorate a murdered young woman, and the bride is born. She is beyond what either of them intended, igniting a combustible romance, the attention of the police, and a wild and radical social movement. Now, this one stars Christian Bale, Penelope Cruz. Like, the cast is pretty interesting, and I'm just super excited to see what Maggie Gyllenhaal has for us. Now, this next film is technically in my top 10 most anticipated, but I don't believe it's actually going to release this year, so we'll see what happens. And that is, of course, Saw 11. This is directed by Kevin Grudert, who brought us Saw X. And of course, as a fandom, we loved Saw X, so I'm super excited to see what they do with Saw 11. However, it was supposed to come out last year. Now it's moved to this year, of course. And like I said, I don't fully believe that it is going to come out this year, because as far as I'm aware, the script is still not finished and we have not moved past pre-production. So fingers crossed we get this, but I do want them to take their time and give us something worthy of following up such a great film. Saw X is currently scheduled to be released on September 26th as well, so fingers crossed that we actually do get to see it this year. And finally, my last most anticipated horror film of 2025 is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Now, this does not technically have a release date currently penned into the calendar. However, it is said to be released this year in 2025, so I'm super excited to see Guillermo's take on this. Of course, with no release date currently being known, we do not have a ton of information, but it's basically just going to be Guillermo del Toro's take on the classic Frankenstein story. So we have Frankenstein, and we also have The Bride this year, and I think they're going to be wildly different, wildly unique, wildly creative. And that is my top 10 most anticipated horror films of the year. If I left off your most anticipated, leave it down in the comments below so all of us can learn about it. Thank you so much for watching my video today. I really appreciate you guys. This is a super new channel, so any interaction at all is genuinely appreciated and noticed. Always remember to keep it peaceful. Love you so much. Mwah.